Image Inform's follow-up to the 3DS hit SteamWorld Dig is finally here, and if you think it looks way different, well, that's because it is. SteamWorld Heist is not a direct sequel to Dig, so other than similar aesthetics, they have pretty much nothing in common gameplay-wise. But that is in no way a bad thing, as the drastic change from a Metroidvania platformer to a turn-based strategy game keeps Image Inform's new project feeling wholly original. This way, Image Inform isn't stuck in a rut churning out sequels that have the same basic mechanics. It keeps things fresh development-wise for them, and it's also refreshing for the gamer, as we get to take on a whole new experience. It still tastes like a SteamWorld game, it's just that the gameplay has been completely changed, and they nailed it. Now, in terms of its story, the game is set a few hundred years after SteamWorld Dig, where after a cataclysmic event blows the Earth to pieces, Steambots are forced to scurry through the depths of space to survive. In Heist, you'll follow the Steambot space pirate Captain Piper and her ragtag crew that is ever expanding. And with your platoon, you'll be raiding ships, kicking some Steambot tushies, and snagging epic loot just waiting to be stolen. Now, you're not just rummaging through these ships for no reason. There's actually an overarching story that weaves everything together as you encounter different factions with varying motives. Yes, you're a pirate, but you still have a heart of gold, so it's your job to take down those nasty Steambots laying in wait in the far reaches of the galaxy. Characters in Heist are also well crafted, as they actually have personalities and are not just walking clumps of metal void of life. For example, there's Billy Gill, who has a broken communicator, so all he can say is blub. Lots and lots of blub. He's pretty much Groot, and it's awesome. Plus, it also helps that Image Inform came up with some rather witty dialogue and banter between characters that makes their interactions worth listening to. But what you really want to know is how SteamWorld Heist plays. On the surface, it is a turn-based strategy game, but it does have a couple twists. For one, it plays on a 2D plane from the side rather than being over the top like Fire Emblem or in 3D like Codename Steam. And secondly, your team doesn't automatically attack. You have to aim and pull the trigger yourself, giving you full control when turning those evil robots into a heap of scraps. And you'll be aiming for those coveted headshots, because you're awarded with a 50% chance of critical damage. So, allowing for free aiming adds an awesome layer of skill on top of trying to place your crewmates in secure areas on the map. And let me just tell you that it feels oh so wonderful blowing these guys up. From the slow-mo, sound effects, and the way enemies just fall apart makes every win feel satisfying. Plus, there's also plenty of customization that can be done with the characters to cater to your playstyle. Each and every one of the Steambots you recruit comes with their own unique abilities and stats, and they'll level up and learn new skills as you complete missions. For example, Piper can inspire teammates to do more damage if they're standing next to her, and Billy Gill gets a smidgen of extra health if he does a melee attack on an enemy. On top of the wholly unique characters, there's also a buttload of weapons and gadgets to equip your crew with. And the neat part is, the myriads of weapons don't all act the same. Some are pistols with a laser for easy shooting, others are grenade launchers with arcing shots that can deal friendly damage, and there's even machine guns that scatter bullets. It's super fun trying out all these different weapons and getting a grip on how they handle. Switching out guns and crewmates in between missions keeps the gameplay fresh, and it also helps that each of the 3 regions of the game introduce new enemy types that will change up your strategies. And of course, there's the boss battles, which are most certainly a highlight of the game. Trying to keep everyone alive while also spewing bullets into these damaged sponges can get pretty tense. And really, just making those tough calls in any of the missions is what keeps you on your toes and makes it that much more engrossing. This might seem like a super minimal addition, but when it's your turn, the game actually allows you to switch to a new character while another teammate is moving. That means you don't have to sit and wait while you move your crew. It's just a very small tweak that speeds up the gameplay that much more. And speaking of that, matches play out really quickly for a turn-based strategy game, so if you're afraid of long waiting times, that doesn't happen here. Even better is something carrying over from SteamWorld Dig. Most missions have map layouts that are randomly generated, so playing through the game again or redoing missions gives you almost a completely different experience, which is downright awesome. As a fun little side gag, you can actually change the headgear of your gang of pirates. These helmets, fedoras, or other whimsical hats do not increase or decrease your character's stats, Really, they are just there as a fun little cosmetic addition, which is totally fine because it makes them more swagalicious. Interestingly enough, you can even shoot hats off enemies and steal them during missions. So you can take the chance of dying by aiming for the hat rather than actually dealing damage to the Steam bots, making for an enjoyable and optional side goal. Graphically, Image & Form knocked it out of the park here, creating some insanely detailed environments that look phenomenal even on the low resolution screen of the Nintendo 3DS. As a SteamWorld game, you can expect every inch of Heist to be steampunk themed, with metal and grungy colors making up the vast majority of what you'll feast your eyeballs on. You can certainly tell that a lot of care and effort was put into crafting these characters and locales, so props to you, Image & Form, for a job well done. And it also helps that the game runs at a beautiful 60 frames per second on the new 3DS. Unfortunately, I do hear that if you play on a regular 3DS, the frame rate will dip to 30 frames per second. But hey, it's a price you gotta pay for spectacular visuals. When it comes to the soundtrack, Image & Form hired the real-life steampunk band Steam Powered Giraffe to grace our ears with their musical talent. When going into the game's various bars, or when defeating bosses, you'll get to hear Steam Powered Giraffe bust out in song. And the best part is, vocals accompany these melodies. I've never really listened to SPG outside of SteamWorld Heist, but seriously, the music they included in here was super catchy. It even made me not want to leave the bars, because I wanted to keep listening to their songs. During actual missions though, you'll hear more atmospheric arrangements, and while not bad per se, they definitely get overshadowed by what Steam Powered Giraffe brings to the table. Oh, and the sound effects from the weapons, explosions, and characters talking are also really well done, especially the weapons. It felt really satisfying shooting those bad boys. Now, one of the main complaints people had about SteamWorld Dig was that it was just a bit too short. So to rectify that, Image & Form bumped up the amount of content in Heist. This will probably depend on which of the 5 difficulties you choose to play on, but it took me around 10 hours to beat the game while almost 100% completing every level. To beef up your playtime, you can also take a crack at New Game Plus, which I honestly thought to be underwhelming. The changes they made, while not spoiling it, just didn't feel substantial. Nevertheless, considering most missions are randomly generated, it's still totally worth playing over again on a higher difficulty. On a side note, I think incorporating some achievements would have been a nice perk, just to give us some extra stuff to strive for after wrapping the game up. Similar to what Yacht Club Games did with Shovel Knight. They could have included achievements for things like shooting off hats of certain enemies or killing a group of bots at once with a grenade. Even so, SteamWorld Heist is still a blast to play. Image & Form's latest endeavor has been on my mind ever since its announcement, and the wait for the game was totally worth it. They didn't play it safe and just make a Dig sequel, but rather went in a totally new direction and exceeded with flying colors. If there's a game that is totally worth getting on the 3DS eShop, it's SteamWorld Heist. The gameplay is quick, exhilarating, and it's incredibly satisfying popping off robot heads. Tacked onto that are supremely well designed environments and a groovy ensemble of music tracks from Steam Powered Giraffe. This is not going to be a game you want to miss. So, with that in mind, I found SteamWorld Heist to be an amazing game, and that will bring us to the end of this review. And if you liked what you saw, please give this video a thumbs up, add it to your favorites, and all that good stuff. But I will talk to you all later in the next video, guys. Bye!